Okay, I was just listening to something, an interview with one of the top guys at Spiked, and he used to be a Marxist, full-on Marxist, and it's a really interesting discussion about the working classes and about how the elites and upper classes, upper middle classes view the working classes, and he was talking about football and the way that the elites essentially think that the whole game is rife with racism, and to see some of the adverts that you think are probably true. But anyway, it reminded me of something because one of the things he said was, he said, you know, um, the upper middle classes will, quite cheerfully turn around and say how feckless and lazy the English are, and yet will be, gushing with honours about people from Eastern Europe, etc. Oh, they're such good workers and all this kind of thing. And it reminded me of something that I saw on Radio 4 once. It was a comedy program. It's the usual kind of thing, stand-up comedian, have you ever noticed, etc., etc., or when I do this, and everyone kind of sort of laughs because they can see themselves in the joke. Anyway, he was talking about pretty much the same thing about he had moved house and he had he was in the throes of setting up his office, so he needed a telephone line run through the house, etc., etc. And so he rang BT, and BT said, yes, well, we'll have to book it in, this kind of thing. And it was going to be about 3 months. Yet he got the good old Eastern European to come along on a bank holiday, would you believe? And he would do this job, and, everything was nice and it was polite and it worked well. And, that's why we're failing so badly, apparently, the British worker. And I thought to myself, well, in actual fact, this comedian's probably sort of middle class, and probably in all probability, people of his class probably work in places like BT, and they, sort of middle to upper management perhaps, and they're sitting there thinking, yes, well, it's going to be most efficient if we can gather and collect as many jobs in the same area at the same time, therefore, making it easier and more efficient for the worker to go from one job to the other. So, really and truly, the person that's not responsive is the person who's making, for their own good reasons, holding jobs up simply until there's enough jobs to make it worthwhile. I thought it's somewhat ironic.